In the heart of Minneapolis, 16-year-old Maya Carter found her voice at a time when her community needed it most. The city was tense, grappling with the aftermath of another high-profile incident of police violence. Protests swept the streets, drawing crowds of all ages and backgrounds, united in calls for justice and reform. Maya had always been quiet, more comfortable with books than megaphones, but this time felt different. Her best friend's older brother had been unfairly detained, and she saw how fear and frustration rippled through her neighborhood. One evening, Maya joined a march downtown, carrying a handmade sign reading, "Justice for all." The protest was peaceful at first, chants, songs, and speeches ringing out as the sun set. Maya felt empowered, surrounded by neighbors and friends, standing together for change. Her heart pounded with purpose, hope flickering in the chants that echoed down city blocks. As the protest wound down, a tense standoff began. Police arrived in riot gear, shouting orders and shining flashlights in young faces. Maya refused to step back, even when others did. She held her sign high, her voice trembling but unwavering. A journalist snapped a photo of Maya facing a line of officers, tears in her eyes but feet planted firm. The image went viral overnight. Her courage inspired many, but also drew attention from people with less kind intentions. Soon, Maya's social media was flooded with messages, some supportive, others full of anger and threats. Her family grew anxious. "You were brave, but now you're a target," her mother warned, locking their doors and urging Maya to keep a low profile. Local news outlets interviewed Maya, painting her as the new face of youth activism. She spoke honestly about her fears and her hopes for a world where kids like her could grow up without fear of violence. But the backlash grew. Maya was followed after school. Strange cars circled her block at night. Her little brother became scared to leave the house. The movement had lifted her voice, but it also put a target on her back. Community leaders rallied to support Maya, organizing vigils and promising to protect her. But the threats persisted, and anxiety cast a shadow over what should have been a proud moment. One afternoon after school, Maya received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was calm, familiar. "Maya, this is Snoop Dogg. I saw what you did out there. I got your back, lil' sis." She nearly dropped the phone in disbelief. But Snoop's message was clear. She wasn't alone. And so began a new chapter in Maya's fight, not just for justice, but for her own safety and the power of solidarity. The news of Snoop Dogg's support spread quickly. Overnight, Maya's story gained national traction. Reporters called nonstop, community leaders offered protection, and activists from around the country sent messages of encouragement. Still, Maya struggled with fear. Her family debated whether to stay in Minneapolis or leave town for a while. Snoop Dogg's team reached out directly, offering resources and support. Security experts visited the Carter home, installing cameras and teaching Maya's family how to stay safe. Local activists organized neighborhood watches, promising to look out for Maya and her younger brother on their way to school. Maya's school principal called an assembly to talk about activism, courage, and community. She commended Maya's bravery, reassuring students that they were part of a family that stood together. Teachers offered their support, checking in with Maya daily. Snoop Dogg didn't just call. He showed up in Minneapolis, unannounced and without fanfare. He attended a local rally, standing in the crowd as a show of solidarity. Afterward, he asked to meet Maya and her family privately. In a quiet moment at a community center, Snoop listened to Maya's story. She spoke softly about her fears, her hopes, and how the attention had changed her life. Snoop reminded her, "Courage don't mean you ain't scared. It means you do what's right even when you are." He offered to mentor Maya, connecting her with other young activists and providing a platform for her voice to be heard safely. He also helped her family access counseling and support services, making sure her brother felt safe again. With Snoop's backing, the threats lost their power. Maya found strength in the solidarity of her neighborhood and the encouragement of people she'd never met. Community leaders and national figures spoke up, making it clear that attacks on Maya or any young activist would not be tolerated. Maya began to speak out again, this time with even more clarity. She appeared on podcasts, panels, and school forums, always insisting that the fight for justice should never come at the cost of safety or peace. Snoop's involvement brought new resources to Minneapolis, funding for youth programs, scholarships, and community centers. His presence signaled that Maya's cause was now a movement too big to silence. With each passing week, the fear faded. Maya learned to balance caution with courage, determined not to let threats win. Together with Snoop and her supporters, she worked to ensure that other young people could stand up for what's right, without being made targets. As spring turned to summer, Maya's resolve only grew. The support from Snoop Dogg and the wider community gave her confidence, but also a sense of responsibility. She used her newfound platform to advocate for change, writing op-eds, organizing peaceful protests, and helping younger students learn about their rights. Snoop's mentorship made all the difference. He connected Maya with a network of youth, leaders nationwide, many of whom had faced similar threats. They shared stories, strategies, and encouragement, building a movement rooted in solidarity and care. Maya's story continued to inspire. Local news highlighted her work to bridge divides between police and youth, facilitating town halls and workshops on community safety. She insisted on nonviolence and empathy, always remembering that change required listening as much as speaking. Snoop Dogg invited Maya to join him at a national conference on social justice, where she spoke to thousands about her experiences and the importance of protecting young voices. Her speech was shared across the internet, reaching millions and sparking conversations in classrooms and homes. Despite the attention, Maya never forgot her roots. She volunteered at community gardens, led book drives, and mentored middle school students who wanted to get involved in activism. Her parents, once fearful, now felt pride and relief seeing their daughter lead with strength and compassion. The threats never completely vanished, but their sting lessened as the community rallied around her. Law enforcement promised to investigate credible threats, and the city invested in anti-harassment initiatives to protect all young activists. Snoop's visits became a source of hope in Minneapolis. He attended cookouts, played basketball with neighborhood kids, and continued to amplify Maya's message on social media. Their bond grew deeper, united by a shared belief in justice and community. With every new challenge, Maya leaned on her mentors and supporters, never losing sight of her goals. She became a symbol, not just of resistance but of resilience, courage, and the transformative power of solidarity. The movement that began with a single protest now spanned the country. And Maya, once a quiet girl in the crowd, had become a leader whose voice couldn't be silenced. As a new school year began, Maya was no longer just an activist. She was a role model for students throughout Minneapolis. The local school district invited her to help design curriculum on civic engagement and peaceful protest, ensuring that kids learned how to advocate for themselves and others safely. Snoop Dogg's foundation established a scholarship in Maya's name, awarded annually to young leaders who demonstrated courage and compassion. The first recipient was a freshman who had organized a campaign for mental health resources in schools. Maya continued to work with city officials, helping draft new policies for protest safety and police accountability. Her efforts led to real change, new training programs, community oversight boards, and a hotline for young people to report harassment or threats. The bond between Snoop and Maya's family remained strong. He visited for holidays, sent gifts for her little brother, and celebrated every milestone: birthdays, graduations, and awards. For Maya, Snoop was more than a celebrity. He was a true mentor and friend. With the help of her supporters, Maya started a podcast featuring youth activists from around the world. Together, they shared stories of hope, struggle, and triumph, building a global network of young changemakers. The story of Maya's protest, the backlash, and Snoop Dogg's intervention was featured in national magazines and documentaries. But, for Maya, the most important thing was that her actions made life a little safer for the next generation. Years later, as she looked back on her journey, Maya saw not just the hardships, but the love and courage that had carried her forward. Her willingness to stand up, and the support she received, became a new kind of legacy in her city. And in classrooms, homes, and neighborhoods across America, kids learned Maya's story, that no matter your age or fear, you can spark change, especially when community stands behind you. Snoop's words stayed with her. Keep fighting, lil sis. We got your back, always.